If you've worked with Power Query for more than 10 minutes, you're very likely to be familiar with what are called data types. Data types are very important to Power Query because they tell Power Query what something is, like is it text or a number or a date or a time or a binary. And knowing that information then lets Power Query know what it can and cannot do with that data. If you're working with Power Query in Excel, Excel also has data types. But data types in Excel are not the same thing as data types in Power Query. Going up to the Data tab, we see a group of controls here called data types. And if we open this up, there are 3 built-in data types: stocks, currencies, and geography. Let's explore what these things can do for you, how they work, and then we'll see how to use Power Query to build our own data types. Not only will we learn the built-in features of Excel data types, but we'll also see how to use data types as a very fast way to perform lookup operations. Be sure to download this file and the solution file from the link in the video description so you can follow along, or just open up the solution file and take a peek at all the answers. Let's start with an example of the stocks data type. I have here a list of the top 20 stocks in terms of market value. If we want to know things like who this stock symbol is assigned to, what was its 52-week high, what is it currently trading at, how many outstanding shares are there, we can do a fair bit of Googling to do that. Or we can select all of these stock symbols and then tell Excel to convert these to a stock data type. With one click, we have the names of the companies of which those stock symbols are assigned. We also have the stock data type symbol to the left of those names. If you hover over one of those icons, the icon will pulse to let you know that there's more information behind the scenes. If we give that a click, we see real-time information about that company. So I can see things like its stock price, its previous close, its daily high, daily low, its volume, price to earnings ratio, even some descriptive information about the company. How many employees does it have? This information is not limited to this dialog box. We can now run queries against this data type and pull information out as if we were performing a lookup operation. I've used data validation to point to this stock symbol list, and so I have this as a drop-down. And if I were to choose something like Johnson & Johnson, let's now write a formula to query bits of information from that data type. We'll begin by typing equals, and then I'll point to the cell that holds the user's selection, in this case D3. We are immediately presented with a list of all of the bits of information stored in that data type. We need to separate the cell reference from the category with a period. But I can now go through this list and pick any of these categories, such as the market cap. And when I give that a click, market cap is added, I'll hit enter, and we have just retrieved the market capitalization in real time from the internet. Notice in the formula that market cap was placed in a set of square brackets. That's to account for the space in the multi-word name. If you don't have any spaces in the name, you can omit the square brackets. So let's do the same thing for industry. We'll type in equal, click on the user's selection, period, and instead of scrolling through the list, I can just type the first few letters of the topic I'm interested in. So if I type in letter I, this filters the list for items containing the letter I. In my case, industry, I'll just hit tab, press enter. Let's do the same thing for price, equals, I'll click on the user's choice, period, type in P for price, and I'll arrow down and hit tab. For shares, equals, user choice, period, S for shares, and there's shares outstanding. Finally, employees, equals, user choice, period, and the letter E for employees. These formulas are acting like real-time internet lookup functions. And the best part is, if I go back up here to the drop-down for company and pick something different, like Walmart, it will pull from the internet in real time all of this requested information. Here's Procter & Gamble, Home Depot, American Express. For the geography data type, I have a list of the top 20 countries by GDP. We'll select that list of countries, go to Excel's data types, and tell Excel to treat these as a geography data type. So that adds the geography data type icon, and if I click on that icon, I can see all of the information being supplied from the internet in real time to that data type. One of the more interesting facets of Excel data types is that data types can have nested data types. Using Brazil as the example, if I scroll down, I can see that Brazil's largest city is Sao Paulo, but it has a data type icon next to it as well. And if I click on that, that will drill into the Sao Paulo data type and give me information about Sao Paulo. There is no limit to the depth that data types can have to other data types. If we were to scroll down to, say, the United Kingdom, The United Kingdom data type has an embedded data type to London, and London has an embedded data type to England. England then has a data type to the United Kingdom. You can pull information from any of these levels if you just know the titles of the items you want to pull. As before, I've created a data validation drop-down list where I can pick a country. Now to bring back the capital, leader, population, and largest city, we'll type equals, user selection in D3, period, and then C for capital, and I'll choose capital/major city. For the leader, equals, user selection, period, L for leader, and I'll choose leaders. In this case, I received a spilled array of results because there's more than one leader listed in the United Kingdom data type. But if I just want the first item from a given list, I could go back into the formula and do something like wrap this formula inside of a take function. And I could tell it to take just the first entry from the returned list. For the population, equals, user selection, period, P for population, and we have that. Finally, the largest city, equals user selection, dot L, largest city. And as before, if any of your returned items have a data type icon next to them, you can click on them and start learning about that particular entry. Now the last of the built-in Excel data types is currency. Here I have several nation currencies listed, and I've preceded each one of them with a US dollar slash. So this is to tell Excel that we're trying to read each of these currencies in terms of an exchange of US dollars. So I'll select these items, we'll go to Excel's data type, and tell it to assign the currency data type. Some interesting features get added to the sort controls of Excel when you're working with data types. In this proper table, if I go to the drop-down for sorting and filtering, I receive this extra set of controls at the top called Select Field. So if I want to sort this list alphabetically, in other words by what I'm seeing here, I can choose Display Value and just choose A to Z. And this is sorted alphabetically now. But if I'd rather, I could sort this by price. And now if I choose something like largest to smallest, these are now sorted in largest to smallest order by price. Or how about by the 52-week high, largest to smallest? If we were to sort this by, say, name, and I'll do an A to Z sort, I might not know what some of these represent. Well, there's another button called Add Column, and this shows the same list of category titles. If I pick one of these, it will add a column extracting the information for each entry in the table. So I could bring out the name, I could also bring out the price, or perhaps the change percentage. Now that we've experienced the built-in data types of Excel, let's now use Power Query to build custom data types. On the sample data sheet, I have a proper data table named DT_data for data type data. And this has some very common information about people, their names, birth dates, where they were born, physical characteristics, things that they possess, and their home addresses. Let's take these categories and cluster them together into data types so we get something that looks like this. We'll click in the table, go up to Data, and choose From Table Range. Let's scroll over to the far right side of the table, and we're going to create our first data type for the home address information. So I'm going to select Street Address, hold down Control, and select City, State, and Zip. Because these are all together, I could have selected Street Address and then Shift-clicked Zip and got the same thing. With those 4 columns selected, we'll go up to Transform, and in the upper right, Create Data Type. The data type needs a name. We'll call this Home Address. And the display column indicates which of these 4 columns will be visible. If you imagine taking these 4 columns and stacking them atop one another like playing cards, which card is going to be on the top of the stack? This is the display column. You can make any column the display column, but in my case, I'm not picky, so I'll just leave it at Street Address. I'll hit OK. I now have a single column called Home Address of a data type. Clicking to the right of one of these entries, I can actually peek into that stack of cards and see everything that's contained below it. So this is a record. Now for the miscellaneous data type, I'll choose Dependents, Education, Citizenship, and Licensed. Go to Create Data Type. We'll rename it to Miscellaneous. If you realize you forgot a column or you picked a column you shouldn't have, you can go to Advanced and then start making adjustments here. You can also alter the stacking order of the columns so that they appear in a very specific order when the user interfaces with them. I'll leave everything as is, click OK, and here's my miscellaneous column. If I give it a peek, here are the 4 columns nested within the one. Now for personal characteristics, I'm going to scroll over and select Sex, scroll back over, and select eye color, blood type, height, and weight. create data type, and we'll name this to personal characteristics. I'll click OK, and now peeking behind one of these, we see all the nested personal characteristics. Our fourth data type will be the birth information. So that's going to be the date of birth, the birth city, and the birth state. We'll go to create data type, and we'll name it birth info. And clicking behind one of these, I see the nested data. I would like these 4 data types to be nested underneath a larger data type called employee information. So I'll select a name, and because these are all in order and I want all of them, I'll do a shift click on the last column. You could also select name and do a Control A. We'll go up to create data type, and we'll give this data type the name employee information. Hit OK. All of those columns have now been rolled into a single column. Clicking next to one of those names, I can see the sub data type records contained within it. Let's load this back into Excel as a proper table. So we'll go to Home, close and load to, and I'm going to place this table on an existing worksheet called Custom Data Types, and I'll place it in cell B2. Hit OK. Here we see the list of employee information data types. Clicking on one of the data type icons, I can see the first level information, which is really just a list of sub data types. If I click one of those, I can get more detailed information. Now let's see how we can perform very quick and easy lookups on that nested data type information, and do it when we have layers of nested data types. I've created a data validation drop-down list that points just to that list of names that came from the query, and I'll go ahead and pick one. I can click on this data type icon and see the 4 sub data types, of which I can click on a sub data type and then see that deeper information. But I want to create a dashboard that pulls selected information from each of the 4 sub data types. So for age, we'll start with an equals, and I'll click on the user selection, which is in B3. This displays what we'll think of as the first level of data type information. I'll type a dot because everything is separated by a dot, and because I want age, that's going to come from the birth info category. So I'll pick that, but now I have to type another dot to get to the next level in that data type. And in this case, I want date of birth. Now, if I stop right here and hit enter, it returns the date of birth, but I want the calculated age. Age is not information contained within any of my data. So here's a little bonus function for you. There's a function in Excel that doesn't appear in any of the built-in lists of functions in Excel, and that function's name is DATEDIFF. If I go before this and start typing in date, DATEDIFF doesn't even show up in the preview of available functions, but it does exist. So you must type it out in full form, DATEDIFF, for date difference. Open parentheses. The first argument of DATEDIFF wants to know the oldest date, in this case the birth date, comma. The second argument is the newest date. Since I want this to recalculate every time I open the file based on today's date, I'll use a today function. This will return today's date, comma, and then DATEDIFF wants to know, how do you want to describe the difference? Do you want to describe it in days, in months, in years? You have to provide this information with a code. The codes go in double quotes, and in this case, I want to calculate the difference in years irrespective of the months and days, so I'll type in a Y. Close parentheses, enter, and we get the calculated number of years from the birth date to the year of today. For licensed, equals, user selection, period. This is coming out of the miscellaneous category. Notice the absence of square brackets because there are no spaces in this name, dot, and then we want to know what their status is for licensed. What's their blood type? Equals, user selection. This is a personal characteristic, and I want blood type. Finally, their home address. Equals, user selection, period. Now, if I choose home address by itself, and that's it, that will return the first item from the stack of that data type. But I also want the city, the state, and the zip code. So what I'm going to have to do is request each of those entries from that sub-data type and then concatenate them together. This is going to be an interesting form of concatenation because I have a mixture of delimiters. I'm going to have commas, spaces, and even in-cell carriage returns. So back in this formula, we're going to combine all of these things together with a concat function. Now where concatenate says, give me all the information, and your delimiter, concatenate uses the same delimiter throughout the entire result. Concat allows you to define exactly where and what delimiters to use. So the first thing I want is the home address dot the street address field, comma, The next thing I want to do is concatenate that to a carriage return. An in-cell carriage return is defined by using the char function or character function and character 10. So character 10 is a carriage return. Comma. On that second line, I want the user selection cell, period, home address data type, period, and then city, comma. The next item is the delimiter between the city and the state. So in double quotes, I'm going to put a comma space, close quotes, comma. Next, I want the state. So that will again be the user selection cell, period, home address data type, period, and then state, comma. The delimiter between the state and the zip code, I'm going to put in double quotes, 2 spaces. Finally, the zip code. So user selection, period, home address, period, zip code. Let me extend my formula bar, and here's the whole formula. It looks like a lot, but it's just a lot of repetition. Let's put a closed parentheses on this, press enter. Now we see all of the returned information, but it's all strung together, but without all the fancy carriage returns and delimiters. That is because we need to go up and enable text wrapping. And once we do that, the character 10 will kick in and we see all the pretty delimiters. Going back to the user dropdown, I can pick somebody else from this list, and there is their information. Pick somebody else, and there's their information. And we were able to do this without a single lookup function. So there you have it, Excel's built-in data type feature. Use the built-ins or pair it up with Power Query to build your own. Remember to download this file in the solution file from the link in the video description. And let me know in the comments what you think about this. Have you used the built-in data types? Did you know about Power Query's ability to create your own? If you're not a fan of VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP, this might be a viable option for you. Thank you for watching, and remember at BCTI, the learning never stops.